his exception. This is to avoid, you know, the temptations and the harm that can come ultimately out of that. You know, this kind of close contact of males and females that are not married. That are not married to each other, that is. Or close relatives who could not possibly get married. So, if that Muslim man requests this of his wife, and the women tend to want to do whatever the husband asks to please them, it will not in any way threaten her religion. Whereas, turn to the other picture, if a Muslim woman is married to a non-Muslim man, and he says, I'd like some pork, I want to drink some alcohol, please go to the store, get some, cook it up for me, bring some, serve me. These are all against the religion. If he desires this, it's against her religion. It will cause her to be in sin. If he tells her, listen, you know, I don't like you wearing this miniskirt. I mean, wearing this long clothing, you know, cover yourself all up and everything. I want you to wear a miniskirt, have your hair out, you know, because I like to be proud of you when I walk the streets. I like people to look at you and say, oh, wow, what a beautiful woman you got there. You know, I want to feel proud. This is a kind of a Western attitude where they don't feel Western society promotes this thing of beauty, a woman displaying her beauty. A man feels proud of having a beautiful woman on his arm. I mean, the idea that he wants to cover her up, keep her, you know, away from eyes which, you know, could lead to whatever. No, this is foreign, a foreign idea. It seems ludicrous in these times. But that's the Islamic perspective. So if a man says, the Muslim man says, hey, I want to be proud of my wife, so I want you to have your hair out, wear a miniskirt, wear tight clothing, whatever, when you walk out with me, this is all against her religion. And she, being a wife, would tend to want to do what is pleasing for her husband. So her religion then becomes threatened. And the chances, of course, of raising her children as Muslims, you know, again, this also threatens the status of those children and how they will be raised. So when Islam prescribes that a Muslim woman should only marry a Muslim man, that is on one hand to protect her religion, you know, the possible harm that could come to her religion, her faith, by marrying a non-Muslim man. And it's not guaranteed, but it's just potentially there. And also to protect the interest of the children, to ensure that they're raised as Muslims. The second letter we have, it's a shorter letter. It's from Banjul in Gambia, West Africa. Muhammad Nabi Diab writes, Dear Doctor, hope this letter will find you in the most perfect health. I live in the Gambia and God has blessed us with a satellite television. And I must tell you, your programs are most educating and entertaining. It brings to light to me and my family a deep understanding of what our religion is and stands for. I've been reading lots of books on Islam and would still like to read more. I've read your book on Tawheed and I've found out that you've written on a lot more other books on other subjects. The main reason for writing is because I would be interested to get a hold of your other books. Could you please tell me where I can acquire these books? And secondly, I would like to know the days and times of the English religious programs on Sharjah television, because I do miss some of the programs. I pray that God will bless you to continue your good work for generations to come, so that my children can also benefit from your enlightenment. Finally, may God bless you and yours in the hereafter. I would like to thank Muhammad for this very nice letter, and it's very nice to hear that the program is reaching Gambia and that there are people benefiting all the way over there in West Africa. At any rate, the programs in general come on every evening from 9 o'clock, our time here. I mean, of course, you need to know what's the time difference between West Africa and here, but they come on every evening, English programs, and they come on again at 1 a.m. after midnight here. And I think this is the one which is reaching you. That's the satellite broadcast, the one after 1 a.m. My programs in specific, you know, come on Saturday. I have a program there which is the program Tafsir, Understanding the Quran, in which I'm giving an interpretation of the chapter known as the Dominion, Surah Al-Mulk, the 67th chapter of the Quran. And the other program, which is this program, In the Light of Islam, comes on Thursdays. So I hope you'll be able able to watch the programs and benefit from it, and we hope to hear from you in the future. I should also mention you requested about the books, where you can get information about the books which I've written. That may be acquired from the Dar al-Fatah Islamic Press, Dar al-Fatah Press in Sharjah, Dar al-Fatah, F-A-T-A-H. The post office box there is 23424, Sharjah, UAE. You can write me there, and we can send you a list of the books and the cost for postage, etc., etc. The next question we have is a local question written from Dubai. Yes. Dear Dr. Bilal Phillips, I am Hisham. Assalamu alaikum. I'm a 13-year-old boy, and I pray to Allah to make me righteous. But there is a puzzling question that always arises in my mind. It is, how did Allah, God, come into existence? I do not mean who made him, but just how did he come into being? Please answer this puzzling question in the light of the Holy Quran. Thank you. Well, it's very interesting. Hisham, very nice to hear from you. And this question is something which does go through the mind not only of people, young people at your age, but people at all ages. I notice you make the qualification not who made him, because you understood well that yes, if somebody created God, if somebody made God, then that God would no longer be God. The one who created him would really be God. So I'm glad that is clear from you, and that's the explanation we have to give to those people who haven't grasped that aspect of it. That if we ask, how did God come into existence, meaning who created God, then what we're asking about is who is the true creator, because then God isn't the creator. Everything which exists besides God is his creation. If God himself is created, then he's a part of creation. And then there is really a God who created him and the creation. Right? So this is out. Now the question Hisham is asking, how did God come into existence? Meaning, not who created him, because as I said, he has grasped the idea that no one could create God. But how did he come into existence? Meaning, there was a time when he didn't exist, and he came into existence. Well, of course, this never happened. When Allah describes himself as Al-Awwal, and the Prophet ﷺ said, "Huwa al-awwal, laysa qablahu shay." He is the first, and there was nothing before him. And Allah describes himself as Al-Akhir, and the Prophet ﷺ described him saying, "Walaysa ba'dahu shay," and he is the last, and there's nothing after him. This is confirming Allah as the Awwal, the first, meaning there is nothing before him. There is no time when he never was. He always was. His existence is eternal when he describes himself as being Al-Hayyu Al-Qayyum. Right? Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum. The living, the ever-living. There was no time when he didn't exist. Because if there was a time when Allah did not exist, nothing existed, there is nothing which would cause him to come into existence. If nothing existed, then there would be nothing to cause him to exist. So there is no causing for God to exist. God always was. He has no beginning as he has no end. This is the correct understanding of God. One who is without beginning. This is why we say, as Allah says himself, Lam Yalid, he was not born. Walam Yulad, nor was, Lam Yalid, sorry, he did not give birth. Walam Yulad, and he was not born. Neither of these characteristics are suitable or attributable to God. He doesn't give birth like human beings give birth. He creates. Nor is he born. There was no time when he didn't exist and then he came into existence. He always was. So I hope that is clear for you, Hisham, and for those viewers who perhaps had this question. God is without beginning. And that is a necessity for explaining how everything else came into being. Because if he had a beginning in time, then it means there was a time he wasn't. And when he wasn't, then what was? Non-existence? Is that something? Or is it a lack of something? It is a lack of something. So God always existed. With that, dear viewers, I'd like to thank you for being with us in this segment of our program, In the Light of Islam. We'd like to thank Hisham, writing to us from Dubai, Muhammad, writing from Gambia in West Africa, and Naid, writing from Taman Rasset in Algeria. And we hope to hear from more viewers from different parts of the world, and we're always prepared to answer whatever questions you have. You may write us, Sharjah Television, P.O. Box 111, of course, put the name of Islam, so it's known as just the program you're writing into. And you may address it to me personally or just to the television. And for those of you that are in Dubai and you have questions, you'd like to just call in, you may call in questions to our Dubai office known as Discover Islam. And the number there is 396-2190. We'd like to hear from you. With that, I'll bid you farewell. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.